Welcome back, everyone. Toy-shiz here, and I am back yet again for yet another McFarlane Toys XDC Direct video. And today comes courtesy of my friends over at McFarlane Toys. This is a look at Waves 3 and Waves 4 of the new Batman Adventures reissues, which are, of course, figures that were released roughly 8 to 10 years ago when they were under DC Collectibles. So for Wave 3, it will include characters such as Garfield Lins, aka Firefly. I always like that design. The weapon he comes with, more on that in just a few. The boxes are nice, very TNBA, totally dig it. Nice artwork. Across the board, all the boxes are the exact same, just mix and match the various characters. And for those of you interested, here's the barcode, and I will put links down in the description below to make it easy peasy if you'd like to order any of these. Now, in the same debut episode as Firefly, we had Batman, but he had some brand new fireproof armor in the form of the AntiFire suit. And this was a very striking suit, always one that I definitely remembered. A fantastic character, one of my faves, one of the characters that I learned of his existence through TNBA. We have Jack Ryder, the Creeper. He looks awesome. And for Wave 4, we have Edward Nygma, aka the Riddler. And I'll be honest, when they redesigned everything for TNBA, if there ever was a downgrade design, well, look no further. And McFarlane Toys, would it kill you to package the question mark the right way? Come on now. The Batman for Wave 4 will actually be a retro homage to the Hasbro Kenner days of TNBA. When they used to do all those wonky redesign, recolors, it was always in the multi-packs and whatnot. Then they would use what I used to call like the coloring book arts. And then it just drove me nuts. It still drives me nuts. It's fun. We'll talk about this one. And then the big one for me, because I've been looking forward to this, even though there's a little wonk. It's not really McFarlane's deal. It's more on DC Collectibles side, but we have Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow. So this is going to be an absolute blast. Sit back, relax, grab yourself a nice hot cup of coffee. This is a look at Waves 3 and Waves 4 of the McFarlane Toys XDC Direct, the new Batman Adventures toy line. Here we go. And while I got all you animated fans here, I just want to say thanks so much for always checking out my YouTube vids. And if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. Why, you ask? Well, we have old toys, we got new toys, daily news updates. Guarantee you'll find something here that you like. Now, right before we get started, these figures, every single one of them, come with an exorbitant amount of hands. Hands for days. Hands you're never going to use. Very few actual accessories to use said hands, which is a very odd thing. It's lacking on the accessories. So here's everything taken out of their respective packaging. And as per usual, yeah, we got some stuff to talk about here. So we'll kick it off with the AntiFire suit Batman. Now, this one is very cool, very interesting. The back of the head is hilarious to me. Imagine putting that helmet on. Where would your head back up into? It would just be the most uncomfortable thing ever. Overall, in terms of what DC Collectibles, DC Direct did back in the day, yeah, it totally fits the cartoon for the action figure from the show. The colors are nice. What McFarlane has done in reissuing these, it's pretty safe to say, yeah, they did a good job here. Now, keep in mind, on the back of the belts, now, in the show, as you can clearly see, there is no gun. And then all of a sudden, he gets attacked by Firefly, and he just pulls this gun out of absolutely nowhere. But I'm happy to say that that is the correct gun. It is just plastic. There's no paint on it. Keep that in mind when I start talking about Firefly. Overall, get yourself a good-looking one. As you can clearly see on the chest of mine, it's got some clear coat, something like that. The articulation, we're not blaming McFarlane Toys here. They're not going to redesign these figures. They're simply just reissuing them. We're lucky that they reissue him in a capacity that I could say, yes, if you like Anti-Fire Suit Batman, he's definitely a must-have. Moving on to the Creeper. This is one of those where he doesn't come with any accessories like in the original release, which is a bummer. So I will say that. But what they have reissued is pretty much a perfect Creeper figure. For me, I love the boa. The boa parts that all stick out are a soft gummy rubber, so you don't have to worry about snapping anything off. He actually stands really well which is nice because the original Kenner did not stand well at all. I would say he's missing some black in the smile, maybe a little red dot for his lips. That would have been nice to see. Could have added that. I'm just saying. But this giggling lemon yellow maniac is brought to life again, and I totally dig it. Now, to restate, the articulation, very antiquated. If this is not your type of articulation, do not buy these. Don't look at them. Don't even think twice. But I love the way that this figure looks. So I'm overall very happy. Could McFarlane reissue these with new parts and pieces? They could, but yeah, they're not gonna. Now, next up, we have Firefly. And the design of Firefly for TNBA was always one that I admired. I thought he kind of looked like the Rocketeer. What McFarlane has done in reissuing him is a near perfect reissue as far as just the actual character goes. And the jetpack is there, all the different pouches for his belt. I like that the jetpack is removable, so that's a nice touch in case you need to package him away. You're not going to damage the wings. Go very easy with the little antenna on his head. The articulation is very minimal. If I've said it once, I'll says it again. It's just that old school articulation. Like it or lump it, it still looks good when these characters are just lined up in that maquette style. And that's what I like them for. But a lot of people out there are not going to buy these because of that very reason. And I totally understand it. But my main gripe here, and it is driving me nuts because I talk about it all the time with the Target exclusive BTAS wave, they got the gun wrong. Now, there are a couple ways to look at this. Either they're not paying attention, okay, or because Firefly's gun, the one that came packaged in the original DC collectibles, has a trigger, that might be a reason. Now, either way is pretty dumb. But this is the anti-fire suit Batman's cold gun. Basically something from Mr. Freeze, if you think about it. No, it does not fit into the holster on the side. No, I can't go on eBay and order one of these because this Firefly figure is super expensive. So as I say this, if anyone out there has the gun for Firefly and you don't want it no more, hit up your old friend ToysShiz. He'd be definitely interested in grabbing it. So that's just a mind-numbing thing for this character. Who's paying attention? Who thought, yeah, ship it? Because if it is a goof, why ship it? And if it's not a goof, why even release the figure at all? It's just so head-scratching. So this one is just a general toss-up. If you want them, get them. If not, you know my reasons. Anyways, moving on to the Scarecrow, which he was very cool in the TNBA episodes because of just that mask, the look. But this is definitely a character, much like the recent Marvel Legends Spider-Man Unlimited. It relies so heavily on the cartoon with the heavy blacks to really bring out the correct design, as you can clearly see. This design, as I'm saying, is there. And I've seen people on YouTube repaint this thing and it looks amazing. But people went out of their way to tell me, no, this is wrong, this is wrong. This is what the mask looks like without all the heavy blacks. I don't know what to tell you. So just imagine that he has all of them because everything else about this character is pretty darn cool. And overall, I'm kind of happy with him. We kind of have a Firefly situation going on. Down the body, the trench coat, the really long gangly arms, the little tiny feet, the noose around his neck, the hair, the hat, the mask itself. It is very cool. It's very TNBA with that wonky design translated to plastic. But the main thing for me is that this Scarecrow is supposed to have a stick. His walking stick, his knocking Batgirl off a 52-story building stick. And they didn't put it in the box, and it drives me nuts. What is this stick, you ask? Well, they kind of sort of lucked out. I kind of sort of lucked out. This is the stick that is the stand for the TNBA stands that keep your figure up. But it kind of works in a really weird way, so you kind of got lucky on that, McFarlane Toys. But again, where are all the accessories, parts, and pieces that make these characters the characters? It's really weird that you're reissuing these things and you're just leaving all of this stuff out. Why? What are you supposed to do with all these hands? We don't have any accessories. It's really wonky. I'm just going to tell you. The design for the Scarecrow is definitely awesome, but there is surely some wonka going on. And next up, we have the Riddler. And again, we're not faulting McFarlane Toys on this one. They have simply reissued what DC Collectibles, DC Direct did. And yes, this is what the Riddler looked like in TNBA. So yeah, for the most part, they got it. The green is a little bit too green, but more on that in just a few. Oddly enough, for TNBA, okay, just to kind of go back and talk about this, the Riddler in this design never really showed up in the show for his very own episode. He guest starred in the dream sequence for Over the Edge. He showed up in the Superman episode Nighttime, of which he teamed up with Bane and the Mad Hatter, and didn't really do much, but that sinister smile is still one of my favorite moments from all of the TNB STAS era. And then he briefly showed up in the Judgment Day episode when the Judge, aka Two-Face, took him down like no other. The one saving grace in all of this, though, is that the original voice actor John Glover returned to then voice the version of this Riddler. So yeah, for that, I'm very appreciative, because this Riddler, I can kind of see what they're going for. It's very Frank Gorshin. It's kind of Jim Carrey. It's just not very appealing, and it's a downgrade. It's a huge downgrade from the original BTAS Riddler. He just looks so stellar in that suit. He's got very tiny feet. He does not have any ankle rocker on said feet. He just is kind of there. And like I said, with John Glover returning, the one saving grace for this figure is that he comes with everything that you need, like the Riddler cane. So for that alone, sure, it's a complete figure. He's got a couple extra hands. He's very cool. Well done. I would have liked the green to be toned down just a smidge, but overall, yeah, totally dig the Riddler. And then finally, we have this blue and gray Batman. Now, this is simply just taking the TNBA Batman and recoloring it. I have seen some people say, oh, it's supposed to be the Norm Brayfogle Batman. You call it whatever you want. It's just a variance on the TNBA. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Make sure you get yourself a good looking one, because the ears on mine, one's got a little reduction there. It's kind of chewed on. It's just not good. It's the molds. It's old molds. Some of the articulation in the arms is very stuck, so heat them up. Don't force anything. And do take note of the ears, one of them being larger than the other. That's, again, problems with pulling out of the mold. The articulation, yes, heat it up, especially the knees. Like I said, with the elbows, don't be afraid to heat your figures up. It's better than breaking them. Now, like I said, they've gone to town with the blue coloring, and that extends itself to the accessories, of which they could have painted at least the bat and grapnel black just to have some differentiation. The Batarang is blue as well. It has a giant L on there, which is fitting, right? So who is this figure for? Because it has no affiliation with Batman, the animated series, nothing with TNBA either. Because, like I said, this figure hails from the Kenner Hasbro days, where they just reissued a Batman from TNBA and made him blue and gray. So yes, it works in that sense. Am I stoked? Am I so happy about this figure? It's a nice wink and a nod, but ultimately it's just like, well, who is this actually for? Now, on the flip side of things, to see the two creepers next to each other, I remember going to get the original Kenner Hasbro creeper. I was with my grandmother. We found him at KB Toys. I was stoked. He had a problem standing, though. The bow is entirely too heavy. And I do think that the original creeper has the better yellow as opposed to this new yellow. But in either case, these are just awesome. I'm really stoked to own both of these now. And finally, I will say this, it's kind of odd to then see the original look for BTS and now TNBA, but side by side, right? So that's where action figures really shine. So you see how it originally looked, and then you're like, what the heck? And it's the same thing with the Scarecrow, from the original thin bag head to the more scarier looking Scarecrow to now this dead man zombie Undertaker looking Scarecrow. Across the board, the Scarecrow had a very interesting timeline, but in either case, as far as the Scarecrow is concerned for Batman the Animated Series, it's totally fun to have these. So that is going to wrap it up for my quick look at Waves 3 and Waves 4 of the new Batman Adventures, the reissues from McFarlane Toys X DC Direct. There is, once again, some definite wonk in an, you would think, easy reissue scenario. Now, we don't know the exact rules on the guns just yet, and I was saying that perhaps because Firefly had a trigger, they couldn't do anything with it. But then it also looks like a huge goof to give him the wrong gun. You see what I'm saying there? It seems like no one is paying attention. And if you look at the Target BTAS wave, that's where my mindset is kind of coming across. Across the board, though, the colors are cool. The paint is pretty decent. There's very minimum problems with any of the paint, so that's nice to say, but it's really the lack of accessories. It's the lack of fun that you could be having with all the prior released figures accessories these no longer have. So you've heard my thoughts, and now I'm curious to know yours. Comment below, let me know. Let's talk everything TNBA, and I'm going to leave you guys with that. As always, drink some great coffee, eat some great food, but most importantly, remember, again, while I'm happy to have these, to finally own these, it does have a huge departure of the potential fun I could have had, and I really lament not getting these back in the day when they were originally released. And that's my 2 cents. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Adios.